for the explanation of Selection 6. Read this selection over and over and over and over again. It contains within it much that will not be grasped at the first reading, nor the 10th, nor the 100th. Its meaning will unfold as your experiences render you ready to receive it. It tells you that your life must not be one-sided. It must be varied. You must avail yourself of the advantages of the inner life. And yet you must not run away from the world. Others need you, and you must play your part. You cannot run away, in all fairness, even if you want to. So accept that part that is allotted to you and use your present state as a thing upon which you may mount to greater things. You are a cog in the great machinery of life, and you must do your work. The whole nature of man must be used wisely by the one who desires to enter the way. This life may be carried into your business, your profession, or your trade. If it cannot be taken with you everywhere, something is wrong with it or with you. You must not expect the world to understand your view of life. There is no use inflicting your views upon the unready world. Milk for babies and meat for men, remember? The majority of people around you are like unborn babes spiritually, but very few have even drawn their first baby breath. Do not make the mistake of wearing your heart on your sleeve for the birds to peck at. Play well your part in the game of life in which you are forced to join. Though you see it as but the sport of children, do not make yourself a nuisance to the babes. Join in as if you enjoyed it. You will learn lessons yourself from it. Do not make the mistake of thinking that you have to go around wearing a Sunday face. Don't pose as one of the holy and too good for life sort of people. Just be natural. And that's all. Don't be afraid to laugh or smile. A sense of humor is one of the greatest gifts given to man and prevents him from committing many follies. A laugh, as they say, is often every bit as good as a prayer. The next selection bids you to look for the flower to bloom in the silence that follows the storm, and which blooms only then. The rainbow of spiritual consciousness appears only after the fierce storm which has swept you from your feet. It is the divine token of the peace which is coming to you. The flower that blooms in the silence is the flower of spiritual consciousness, for the production of which the plant of life has been striving. That which caused the sprouting of the seed, the putting forth of its roots, and pushing of the plant through the soil of the material into the pure regions above. The unfolding of leaf after leaf, the discarding of sheath after sheath, until finally the tiny bud of the Spirit was visible, and the real unfoldment began. This appearance of the bud of spiritual consciousness, the first rays of illumination, mark the most critical period that follows the storm. Great things await the soul. So remember this. When you find yourself in the midst of the great storm of spiritual unrest, which is sweeping away all the old landmarks, which is tearing away all that you've been leaning against to support yourself, which causes you to imagine that all is being swept away from you, leaving you alone without comfort and support. For in that moment of spiritual distress, when all is being taken away from you, there is coming to you that peace which passeth all understanding, which will never leave you, and which is well worth the stress of 1,000 storms. The time of mere blind belief is passing from you. The time of knowing is at hand. It is difficult to speak of the higher spiritual experiences in the words of the lower plane. You cannot speak butterfly language to caterpillar people. Emerson, who had experienced that consciousness of which we speak, says, "Every man's words which speak from the life must sound vain to those who do not dwell in the same thought on their own part." I dare not speak for it. My words do not carry its august sense. They fall short and cold. Only itself can inspire whom it will.